Good morning, it's Miss Wicks, and I am reading with group number 2 in our Wonders of Imagination. Book 2D, we have come to the end of our book, and for today's lesson, we are on page 137, and we are looking at moral of the story. It says to write the moral of the story for Hidden Treasure. Hidden Treasure is a story that's found back on page 13. And so if we go back to page 13, we can find it here. Goodness. This is something that we read a while back. Pages 13 through 17. And so here it says parts of a story, the moral. The moral of the story tells us the meaning of the story. As you read a story, ask yourself, why did the author write this story? The answer will give you a hint to the lesson the author wants you to learn. Understanding the moral of a story will help you learn how to make right choices. So let's read this story. It's about encouragement and resourcefulness. Hidden Treasure. We've read this already once. Again, it's on page 13 through 17. So sometimes treasure isn't just gold or silver. Let's find out how a farmer dug deep and found a different kind of treasure. All right. There once was an old farmer who had heard that treasures were found in odd places. He thought and thought about such treasures until he could think of nothing else, and he spent all his time hunting for them. How he wished he could find a pot of gold. One morning he arose with a bright face and said to his wife, "At last, Mary, I've found the treasure." "No, I cannot believe it," she said. "How did you find it?" "I was told about it in a dream," he said. "It is under a tree in our orchard." "Let us hurry and get it," said his wife. So they went out together into the orchard. "Which tree holds the treasure?" asked the wife. John scratched his head and looked confused. "I really don't know," he said. "I saw the exact tree in my dream, but there are so many trees here. Now, I'm not sure which tree has the treasure." So John Jacobs began to dig under every tree in the whole orchard, all 80 apple trees and all 20 peach trees. "Be careful not to cut the roots," called his wife as she went back to work in the house. John smiled to himself and thought, "What difference does it make if I cut the roots? The whole orchard will not bear 1 bushel of good apples or peaches." Even so, John began to dig and was careful not to cut the roots. He dug 3 feet deep around tree after tree, but found nothing. The neighbors began to think John was acting strange. Soon they were telling other people, who then came to see what he was doing. They would sit on the fence, make clever jokes about digging for hidden treasure, and call the whole orchard Jacob's Folly. How much money did you get from that hole?" they said as they laughed. "Maybe you'll find some money in the next one." John became so embarrassed that he did not want to be seen in the orchard anymore. He stumbled into the house and said to his wife, "Why don't I just sell this place and find a new home?" "Oh, no," said the wife. "This has always been our home, and I cannot think of leaving it. Maybe if you fill the holes, the neighbors will stop laughing." John did as his wife suggested. He filled the holes with earth and smoothed it over as level as it was before. Soon enough, everyone forgot Jacob's Folly. When the warm spring came, all the trees burst into bloom. John looked out over his flowery orchard. "Mary," said John one bright spring day, "don't you think the blossoms are finer than usual this year?" "Yes, they look bigger and brighter than they ever have been," said his wife. By and by the blooms fell, leaving so many apples and peaches that the trees could hardly hold up all the fine fruit. Now the neighbors came not to make fun, but to admire John Jacob's lovely orchard. "How did you do it?" they asked. "It seems that the trees were just old and needed attention," said John. "By turning the soil and letting in the air, it must have given them strength to bear fruit." Though John never found treasure under the trees in his orchard, he learned a lesson which was much more valuable. Real treasure comes from hard work. And so, there you have it. That's the end of our story, and you can write the moral of this story. Think about it. What does the author want you to know?